Hi, welcome to Free Forest School. I'm pretending that we just finished a name game, so I've learned everyone's names and rang my bell, and I'm saying, kids, you're in charge today. Welcome. We're going to be heading to base camp. There's really only one great spot for base camp, and it's around this small lake we're right next to, Good Life Lake. But there's more than one way to get there. So there's going to be a few opportunities where the trail will split left or right. And you can circle around the lake any way you go, and you set the pace. So just make sure, we don't want to get too spread out, that there's always someone you can see in front of you and behind you, so that the people behind you know where we're going. I don't want to leave anyone behind. So but we also need to stick to the trails until we get to base camp, although you can stop and explore some things. And there's a reason why. It's because there's a plant I'm a little nervous about. Does anyone know what's the plant we need to keep an eye out for? That's right, poison ivy. And does anyone know what poison ivy looks like? Right, it has 3 leaves. It's a green plant, yes. So when we see leaves of 3, we're going to leave them to be, all right? If you're not sure if it's poison ivy or not, you can ask an adult, or just stay away and maybe ask someone and point it out. We will also encounter some water on this adventure. There might be some streams or waterfalls, or even the deep lake. So it's important to note the water is not for swimming. It's not safe for swimming. If you want to poke around in it, you can do that. But we don't go in the water, okay? And we also might encounter some wildlife here. So if you see any plants, interesting plants or animals, you can point them out to your friends, to adults, but let's just use a gentle touch. We don't want to hurt anything, okay? And another really important rule when we get to base camp is just to always make sure you can see an adult and adults can see you, okay? So that way you don't just run off into the forest and go wherever you feel like. There'll be a lot of room to play and a lot of spaces you can explore, but always make sure you can see an adult. Now for adults, I do encourage, because there's a lot of poison ivy along the trails, that if you haven't done so today, maybe in the future, to make sure to have long pants on. It just helps reduce that risk. And also I encourage you to check for ticks after we play. It's not a huge risk factor here, but it's still something to keep in mind. That said, your child's safety is your responsibility. So just keep in mind that there are different levels of comfort when it comes to risky behavior. So while some parents might be comfortable with their child playing along the side of deeper water, other people may not. So just do what you feel comfortable. If you're comfortable with allowing your child to go off the trail in a certain section and you've checked it out for poison ivy and you think it's okay, that's all right. But just, I would, in general, try to step back and allow children to explore, allow them to study nature safely and use the materials that they discover. If you can allow them to play with sticks or climb something if they want to, use your judgment if you think it's safe. The idea is for children to just go with it if you can, and let them be kids, right? So we really also want to try to encourage all the adults present to not be on their phones. It's a distraction. So if I could have one person volunteer, would anyone like to be the photographer for today? Of course, if you have to take your phone out, if it's an emergency, you really need to check something, that's fine, or you really have to take a photo, but in general, let's just try to minimize the phones being out as much as possible. And if there's any questions or you need any help, just feel free to look for me or my co-director, co-facilitator. Thank you so much. And okay, let's go hit the trails. All right, so